With the registration form completed from the previous movie, we will now attempt to insert the data to the database. In the regprocess.php page, we will follow a generic step-by-step process to do the insert. Open the regprocess.php page. The generic process is represented by the comments and also reviewed on your screen. Number 1, get access to the database. Number 2, determine if the registration data has been sent to this page. If yes, proceed with the insertion. If no, redirect the user back to the registration page. Number 3, collect the data sent from the form. Number 4, validate the data. Number 5, if the data is invalid, send it back for repair. Number 6, if the data is valid, use a PDO prepared statement to attempt the insert. And finally, number 7, check if the insertion worked, and then inform the site visitor of the result. Let's briefly discuss each, beginning with get access to the database. All connectivity to the database resides in the database.php file. To use it, require it at the top of the regprocess page. As shown on the slide, you can use require or require once. Collect the data and store the values into local variables. Use a PHP filter input function to collect the values. This adds some basic security to your web application. Be sure to write the code to collect all 3 inputs from the form that have been sent using the post method. In our example, we will check to see if the variables are empty. Much more could be done to validate the inputs, but we are focusing on the insertion process, not the validation process. Next, we will check to see if there are errors. In this case, any errors that were found would be stored into our error array. We can simply check to see if the array is not empty. If not, then we will include the registration page to display the errors. This process will not be demonstrated in this movie. If the data is intact, meaning there are no errors, we will then use a PDO prepared statement to do the insert. It starts with a SQL insert query. The generic form is insert into followed by the table name, parentheses within which are a list of column names belonging to the table separated by commas, closing the parenthesis, then the word values, followed by another set of parentheses, and within those parentheses are a list of the named placeholders separated by commas. These placeholders must be in the same order as the column names into which the data will be inserted. Close the parentheses. Pause the movie and review the query being written in the regprocess.php page if needed. Next, write each line of the PDO prepared statement, which begins with the creation of the statement object using the database object to send the SQL query to the database server for a check of the syntax and validity of the table and field names. If the query contains any placeholders, the next step would be to use bind value methods to replace the placeholders with the values stored in the variables created and checked earlier in the process. There should be one bind value line for each placeholder and its corresponding variable. Next, the code to run the now complete SQL query. If the query is a select and the data is being returned, use a fetch or fetch all method to collect a single row or all rows of the record set from the database server. Check the result of the insertion. If the query involved an insert, update, or delete, a row count function will return the number of rows affected by the query. If the query involved a select, then the result returned via the fetch or fetch all can be checked for contents or length. The last line of the prepared statement should disconnect from the database with a close cursor method. Finally, check the result of the insert and report back to the site visitor the result. The result will be shown in the main element of the regprocess.php page by displaying a simple message. If you need to, rewind and pause this movie to double-check the code for each step in the process. When the code is complete, start your local host Apache and database servers. Open the registration.php page in your browser, fill in the form, and register. When the registration process is complete, the success or failure message should appear. Be sure to double-check the database to ensure that the data did or did not actually get written to the registration table. If things did not work, look through the code carefully for errors and troubleshoot as needed until things do work as expected. In the next movie, we will look at the process of selecting data from the database to display in a web page.